Hundreds of employees were notified Friday they are being laid off as President Trump's administration works to trim down and retool the English language broadcaster under his close ally, Kari Lake. Lake announced termination notices would be sent to 639 employees of the broadcaster, part of what she called a long overdue effort to trim down the bloated, unaccountable bureaucracy overseeing the outlet. Lake is a top advisor at the U.S. Agency for Global Media, which oversees the VOA, Radio Free Europe, and a number of other foreign broadcast outlets launched by the federal government after World War II. The VOA, which at one point had thousands of full and part-time journalists around the world, will see its total number of reporters, editors, and producers reduced to less than 300 people with Friday's action, Lake said. Lake has said her vision for the VOA is for the broadcast to provide accurate and honest reporting, and it also won't feature Trump derangement syndrome. She and the president contend is present in mainstream media coverage of his administration. The agency now operates towards the statutory minimum, lean and focused, Lake said in her announcement. This is a clear example of responsible government cutting waste, restoring accountability, and delivering on the promise to put American taxpayers first. Lake's moves at the VOA have angered staffers at the outlet and sparked outrage by Democrats and First Amendment advocates. She is slated to testify Wednesday during a House Foreign Affairs Committee hearing examining the U.S. Agency for Global Media. Great. So after getting mostly no news about Lake since she lost her Senate bid last year, we're going to be able to see her at the House committee hearing in just 4 short days. So what I find most disturbing about this tale is you would think if you're running an agency that in the past has employed, over 1,000 people, and you cut it down to 300, there's probably going to be some issues in terms of, okay, is this really a number that can be scaled down and still have things work efficiently? If you're gonna cut this by more than 2/3, maybe it's not going to work as well. Because you would think if you're gonna have all these different journalists that are either full-time, part-time, they're traveling around the world, they're heading to cover different stories. There's clear reason to have so many of them when news is popping off all over the place. Now, the most insane part of this tale, when she is, giving her statement about putting the American taxpayers first, when I read over what her stated aims for this organization will be, where she's talking about having people on that don't have Trump derangement syndrome, and that's basically her way of saying if you are in any way critical of Trump when you come on these, this network or are affiliated with us, we reserve the right to terminate you or take you off the air, just get rid of you altogether. Now, what's really disturbing is that she tried to say, we're putting the taxpayer first. This is not about helping out, the guy who's having to foot the bill for this stuff with the $2 or $4 tax he gets on this crap. This is about them using the idea of waste and fraud and all this other, mumbo jumbo to take away the employment of people and not have to pay them. And it's sad that a lot of workers voted for Trump. I don't even want to sit here and speculate how many of those 600 plus people may have voted for him and now they don't have a job tomorrow. And of course, for all their cuts and expenditure decreases, they can never get around to cutting the military budget. That's interesting. That's always the one thing that no one ever proposes. Let's take out $2 billion of that and give people a wage increase. Let's take $5 billion of that and make these schools either cheaper or free. I mean, it's interesting just how that never comes up. But really what you're seeing with the whole, First Amendment advocates and their pursuit against Lake for talking about going after these people with Trump derangement syndrome, it's basically a violation of this is all just kind of trickling back down to the erasure of the fairness doctrine, which was the policy where you had to have dissenting views when you presented a news story. That's what allowed Fox for years to just, be the right-wing place that it is. And the only time they really get in trouble is when they just spread blatant misinformation. But now, with regard to this group that Lake's running, you're really going to see more of just one side, everything. I mean, let's call it this. It is government funded propaganda. They're going to sit there and act like the world isn't burning, and paint Trump as this heroic savior figure who's fixing everything, and it's sad, man. That they're even able to get away with stuff like this, because there are a lot of people who don't watch the news on online, or don't look it up online, who are going to see VOA and think that's an accurate presentation of today, and it's anything but the case.